Hello everybody, welcome to Tuesdays with Schwartz. I am your host, D. Scott Schwartz, coming to you from sunny California this week. So let's go over what today's show is going to be all about. So first thing is we have two projects going on at the same time. So we have a 22nd century project, which is a district project. We're looking for the 100 most progressive future tense districts to basically upgrade their curriculum to a future tense, be 100 years ahead of the curve instead of 200 years behind. Because as everybody should be aware, we are currently using a 19th century curriculum, okay? 19th century. That means that everything that you're learning in school is 200 years old. Not content, the way you're learning. And it's hard to recognize that because we're all so used to this, because everybody that's gone to school in the United States has been learning the same thing for the last 200 years. So we just assume this is the way it's supposed to be. But this is the reason why we're not competing anymore with the rest of the world. It has nothing to do with test scores, which we're going to get to. It has nothing to do with test scores, has nothing to do with anything. It just has to do with we teach 200-year-old curriculum, and none of it has any relevance to life today. The second thing is I'm working on a whole big project to help teachers earn extra money for lesson planning. So there's going to be a site that I'm building that will have all the lesson plans available. Right now, you could go buy curriculum and lesson plans and all that stuff. The problem is that you may be buying a lesson plan on that site that is illegal because it may have stolen intellectual property and may be violating copyright laws. So that's a problem. Now, the site does not care. They get sued practically every month. They are right now in violation of intellectual property and copyright violations. So be aware that if you bought a lesson plan on that site, I'm not going to say the name, but you know which one I'm talking about. If you bought a lesson plan there, you may have contributed to the stealing of property. Hello, Pocket Teacher. Hey, so what I want to do is I want to start actually making this an interactive live show. So please give me your question. Just tell me what you're thinking about. If you were aware that we're using a 19th century curriculum, say yes. I'm going back to my roots. I started my career as a reporter and a broadcaster. So I was on radio and I've done a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to get back to getting interactive on this show. So that's part of the problem is I don't want teachers to be buying stuff that's stolen. That's not what we are as teachers. As teachers, we're honest people. As teachers, we're great people. In fact, it's actually one of the books that I'm working on. The title is Teachers Are Great. There is no qualification. There's no such thing as a bad teacher. There's struggling teachers. There are teachers who are trying to work things out. But there's no such thing as a bad teacher. All teachers are great. We need to start changing the conversation. The only way that's going to happen is people need to just start changing the conversation. I am just not going to feed in to the negativity. And I've been getting it. I've been getting it on social media. I am trying to do the right thing. And even with that, I get teachers who come into my DMs and basically throw shade all over everything I do. And I'm like, okay, so I've blocked people. It's crazy. It's crazy that we as teachers cannot support each other when it matters. So let's talk about the actual second project. So we're talking about lesson planning. So the whole point is to have a site that allows teachers to have full unlimited access to thousands of lesson plans. Thousands. You don't have to pick and choose like, well, do I want this? Everything is at a high level because it's curated. We're going through and you're writing plans the same format for everybody. So you know what you're getting. Two, it's all 22nd century mindset. So it's teaching for the future. And so if we do that and you have access to thousands of lesson plans, it changes the whole dynamic. There's a lot of teachers, they're not lazy. They're not going to that site and buying lesson plans because they're lazy. It's that they sincerely don't have help and support from their district, and they don't know where to start. Problem is that you can't steal content. Teachers are allowed, under copyright and intellectual property law, teachers are allowed to use anything they want in their classroom for educational purposes, unless there's this express written restriction. They can pull anything from the internet and use it in class. That's allowed by you. But the minute you put it into a lesson plan, put it up on that site and try to sell it, you are now a commercial enterprise. You have broken the law. If you're not aware of that, you should be pulling down your lesson plans now from that site, because you are in clear violation of stealing someone's ideas and property. And there are a lot of teachers who actually put stuff up, and other teachers are stealing it and then selling their own lesson plans based on those teachers' ideas. That's just not good. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want anything to do with that. I like doing good things for good people and just doing it that way. That's it. So I want to create a full site. So we may do even a Kickstarter campaign to do that, so teachers would have access to 10,000 lesson plans and I'm trying to come up with what the price point would be. But maybe you can tell me that. How much would 10,000 lesson plans be worth to you that you could download unlimited? You don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to, because basically based on the data that I've collected and the research I've done, is that teachers are buying about 5 to 6 plans each per year, which is not really a lot of help. Like 5 to 6 plans is on the margins. Like, okay, you know what? I didn't have time this week to write something. I'm just going to go onto the site and try to pull something down. That's costing you anywhere from $15 to maybe $50 a year. So my question is, how much would having access to 10,000 plans be worth? Is it $200? Is it $300? I don't know. Anyway, high gold mindset. So I'm asking questions. So just tell me what it is that you guys are thinking about. So I'm also doing, I don't know if you're aware of the Teachers for Good Trouble movement to try to pause standardized testing for this year. So I'm also doing a ton of research on that, and I'm writing a full report. So far what I have is there's a lot of things that I don't know if we all realize, and I didn't know until I started doing the research on how bad standardized testing actually is, and unfortunately how the NEA has not really made a very good argument. They have gotten distracted. And I'm also doing a lot of posting. And so this whole month, I'm going to be posting a lot of MLK, Dr. King quotes. He is a personal hero of mine. And so I'm going to be posting all this month in celebration of Dr. King. And hopefully we can all start getting to a better place as a nation. I think he, more than anyone, understood that America is a great place. We need to make it better. It's not great, like it's not the best. We're not perfect, but we're better than everywhere else because we have freedom. Now, here's the interesting thing about standardized testing that I don't know if you're aware. Standardized testing actually kills the American dream for most students. And here's a data point that I don't know if you knew. So U.S. Department of Education, along with the National Center for Education Statistics, tracks college graduation rates. Okay, so in their latest report in 2020, so last year, they actually reported that 38% of students failed to get a college degree after 6 years in college. Now, they did not report what percentage of students did not get a degree after 4 years, but we're all led to believe that college is a 4-year degree, right? So I find that interesting that there's only data available for a 6-year time frame, not a 4-year time frame. And be aware that almost 40% of kids fail to get a degree after starting college in 6 years. That's not 5%. Like, we're talking almost 40%. That's in the last 20 years of standardized testing. If that doesn't tell you something, that the American dream has been crushed by standardized testing, I don't know what does. Because we're being led to believe that it helps with student achievement. We're being led to believe that it helps with teachers. I don't know. I had test scores for 20 years. I didn't know what the test score meant. I never got what the test was, so I couldn't see the answers they got right or wrong. It was just a score. And so what I'm writing is the great analogy that I have for test scores, because they're basically pointless, is like comparing them to the NBA point scores. You know, so if LeBron James scores 1,000 points in a season, okay, I mean, that's nice, but who cares? Who cares? And that's kind of the point. Test scores are just as pointless as NBA scores. Because, I mean, yeah, it's nice to follow an NBA team, but who really cares? Like, if the NBA actually stopped, and I think the pandemic kind of points this out, is if the NBA stopped playing games, it would be upsetting, but it wouldn't be catastrophic. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about LeBron James. Nobody cares. People care about their family, care about their kids, and they care about education. The only way we're going to get there is by doing things together and the right way. But we need more help. So, hey, Thriving in Third, nice to see you. So, ask me any questions. What do you want to know? And I also want you to try to share this. So I'm looking for 1,000 teachers that want to earn $1,000 for writing one lesson plan. So share this with your whole network, because I'm trying to find teachers that want to earn $1,000 for writing one lesson plan. Now, that has to be written a certain way. Can't just write a plan that you're putting up on this other site and think that it's not. We need to start teaching kids for the future. And so I've already posted a whole bunch of stuff about what the 22nd century curriculum looks like. And now I have a structure, so I can actually go over the structure here now. And so I'll do that. So the first thing that we have a real problem with, and that's what standardized testing has done, is we've made cookie cutter schools. So they've killed the ability of a teacher to do what they need to do. Teachers are great. I mean, I have seen so many good teachers, and I get excited. In fact, when I was a principal and a superintendent, and I watched or observed a teacher, either informally or formally, and I watched a teacher do an unbelievable job with their lesson, like afterwards, I would go to them and I'd just be like, I just love watching you. You are amazing. Like, the kids were there. Like, they were on point. They knew what they were doing. Like, you just had everything going. That's what we need. We need everybody to just be there. Problem is, we just have no leadership. Leadership, I just posted this, leadership is about a clear vision. What does a school do? A school prepares kids to learn and to think in the real world. So, if you haven't seen the other posts, so we're throwing out the KWL charts. Throw them out. They're bad. They are horrible. They all talk about what. We don't want to talk about what. That's 19th century thinking. If you're not aware of Simon Sinek, okay, he is an author. He's a nationally recognized speaker. He wrote a book, Know Your Why. Okay? Get that book. That is what we need to teach for the future. Why? So the new chart, which is on my post, so I have it there, it's there. It's why are we learning this? How do the students know that they've learned? And then the last question is, what will they create in the activities? Those three questions are critical for 22nd century teaching. Critical. If you're not asking yourself those questions when you lesson plan, you're missing the concept of the topic. So you have to go back, and it applies to everything. Applies to phys ed, applies to art, applies to math, English, science, social studies, applies to everything. You have to ask those 3 questions. Why are we learning this? How will the students know that they learned? And the last question is, what will they create through the activities? Now, I have other tips and tricks and hacks and all that other stuff for lesson planning to reduce the amount of time that it takes to write a lesson plan. Under my system that I've had teachers do for 10 years, it takes you about an hour to write a quality lesson plan. Now, it takes you even less time if you're not a novice teacher. Novice teachers are going to take a little bit longer because you have to do all the research. You have to find, well, what's the materials I want to use? For school districts that don't have a real good curriculum, this is a problem. This is a problem, which is also why I'm working on the back end with districts to actually put in place a 22nd century curriculum to give a foundation for teachers. Okay? Foundation for teachers. It's critical. Teachers can't be left on their own. There are things that teachers don't need to figure out. One thing they don't need to figure out is the curriculum. Shouldn't. That's not part of their job. We need to start lowering the amount of responsibilities, decreasing the amount of responsibilities placed on teachers' shoulders. Teachers' job is hard enough. We don't need to add more to it. I've seen these posts for years. I hate it. Every time I see it, I hate it. The teacher is the teacher, the parent, the social worker. Horrible, horrible. Not in my school. In my school, I used to have to tell the teacher, don't be the social worker. Do not. I have social workers. I have extra social workers. In fact, in my school, I had a social worker. I had 30 kids to each social worker. That meant I had multiple social workers. There was plenty of people to talk to that kid because social workers are trained to handle the emotional problems that kids may be facing. Teachers just don't have that training, and 2, it's a waste of their time. They're trained to teach. Social workers are not trained to teach. It's interesting because social workers tried to do teaching too, and I was like, don't do that. Let the teacher teach. You do the counseling, let the teacher teach, and to the teachers, let you teach, let them do the counseling. And working together, it worked really well because kids would go to counseling, they'd come back and they'd be ready to learn. They'd be like, all right, teach, what do you got? So we gotta start working together in a much different way. We gotta really revamp. All of this is not, we don't need legislation. We don't need to have a revolution. We just need to stick together. We need teachers to stick together. It's hard. I was on a leadership group, meeting for Teachers for Good Trouble. And in the group, teachers are fighting with each other. I'm like, it's one vision. It's just pause the test. That's it. There's nothing to argue. But everybody is so frustrated. They want to be heard. So if you want to be heard, send me a DM. I will listen to any teacher tell me anything. It doesn't matter. You just want to vent for the day, I will be that. If you want to tell me a great idea, I will listen to that. If you just want to say, hey, thank you for posting, I will listen to that. I will listen to anything a teacher has to say. Why? Because teachers need to be heard. Teachers are the smartest people in our society. They're the most valuable people in our society. We have to listen. So I'm starting with me. I am here to listen, but I'm not going to participate in people trying to hate on me. If you disagree with me, absolutely, that's fine. Then say, hey, I disagree. This is why I disagree. Hey, and did you look at this research? That's totally fine. I've had some people actually do that, and I've gone through that whole progression of, okay, let me read it, and I've looked at it, and then I've tried to go back and ask questions, and all of a sudden, whoa, that person got offended. Wait a minute, why are you asking me questions about my research? Okay, because maybe your research only touches the surface. Maybe it's not as far as it needs to go. I've started to do a whole bunch of research on critical race theory. There's a real misunderstanding about this movement, or some people have actually taken it in different directions, which is not where it started. And I need to make that very clear. Where it started, I agree with, fully, 100%. Race is a legal definition in the United States. End of story. If there is no such thing as white privilege, it's a social construct. It makes no sense. There is no such thing. There is white legal privilege. That's it, which none of us as citizens have anything to do with. I have nothing to do with white legal privilege. I live in this country. I am a citizen. I am subject to it just like everybody else. I am being oppressed by it just like everyone else because I don't want it. I don't want our government to do it. I want it to be equal. But our government doesn't listen to me just as much as it doesn't listen to anyone else. That's the truth. And we all need to start listening to each other as American citizens. I'm writing a blog, okay? So I'm on medium.com. I'm writing a blog. And this one is called Why I Hate Donald Trump But Love Trumpers. Because Trumpers are American citizens. I love them. Just like I love teachers. Do I agree with everybody? No. But that's America. We're not supposed to agree. In fact, that's why we're great. We have 300 million people living in this country. That means we can have 300 million opinions and we can still live together. Neighbor to neighbor. If you are here in the United States and you are a citizen, absolutely, whatever you have to say, DM me. I will listen. You are valid. In my book, you're valid. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter your socioeconomic background. I do not care. What you have to say matters. Teachers matter. That's it. There's no qualification. And that's what we need to stop doing. We need to stop qualifying statements. It is what it is. Teachers are great. End of story. You want to argue that? Great. DM me. Argue it all you want. I've been listening. There's podcasts. Joe Rogan's podcast. He has a whole slew of people who go on who talk about teachers and the educational system. These people are stupid. They want to be smart, but they're pseudo-intellectuals. Pseudo-intellectuals. They think they're smart, and that's why they're not. Confucius says, here's a Confucius statement. Ready? Confucius says, a wise man knows he knows nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't know anything. But a wise man knows that there is infinite amount of information to know. And therefore, if you're wise, you know that the amount that you know personally is like this much. It's minute compared to the massive amount of information that's available. That's why the 19th century is all about what, and the future is all about why. Because it doesn't matter what you know. Now, my background is in social studies. So it's so easy to transfer from what to why in social studies. It's a little bit harder, and I totally understand, which is why math teachers, science teachers, DM me. I will walk you through this. Now, I've already done a video on YouTube. It's a full tutorial, full 20-minute tutorial about how to write these lesson plans. DM me, I will send you the link. Not a problem. I'm here to help. But we got to start doing this together. So anyway, let me give you the example. So the 19th Amendment, perfect example. It's the one I used in the lesson plan that I did the video on. So the 19th Amendment is all about giving the women the right to vote. Okay, so that's what. But really, in the future and now, does it really matter what the 19th Amendment is? It doesn't, because it's already happened. It's in the past. Why is the 19th Amendment important? And here, see, that's what we need to teach. We need to teach why it's important. Not what it is, because what it is doesn't matter. It's already the law. We need to teach why. And why it's important is because it shows how Americans can come together to change our nation for the better. The whole movement, the whole suffrage movement, the whole 19th Amendment is a massive pat on the back to how amazing our country is. We started 300, 400 years ago with just an idea that we could build a country with a government that would bend with the people. As society changed, as society grew up, because let's face it, America is a baby. We are childish. We are immature. We can't even go online and handle ourselves properly. We are so infantile. Absolutely. But we are moving towards a better society each and every year. You know, the election in 2008 is a perfect example of moving forward. Is it as far as we need to go? Not even close. But it's huge. We elected Barack Obama. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. Like, no other nation makes these types of leaps. We need to be recognizing reality. No other nation makes these leaps. No other nation. They're all stuck. We're using test scores to try to compare us to other nations. Oh my God, pointless, pointless. I said it before, the test scores are like NBA scores. You could compare them all you want. Nobody cares. Compare LeBron James's point totals to the point totals in Europe. Does it matter? No. Do our test scores matter compared to other nations? No. Do their test scores matter? No, because they are 200 years behind, just like we are. If we go 100 years ahead, we will blow everyone out of the water. They will be looking at us like they did back in the 19th century when we first started public education and went, oh my God, we can't keep up with the United States. But if we upgrade and modernize our whole system to a 22nd century mindset where we teach why, how kids can actually know that they know it and what they'll create, there's going to be no comparisons. We will be so far ahead that everybody else is going to be trying to be catching up. They're like, oh my God, they did it again. The United States did it again. That's the beauty of freedom. Standardized testing kills the American dream. Standardized testing kills individuality. It creates cookie cutter schools that are all crap. And I'm telling you right now, if you're on the charter school movement, your school is just as crap. If you think that if you're a wealthy family and you send your kid to private school, that school, you just paid for crap. It's all the same. You can't get away from it. You cannot get away from it. Everything that's a 19th century curriculum is useless. That's why 38% of kids are not graduating from college. Because those kids are not the low-income kids. Those are the higher-income kids. They're not finishing. Why? Because they have no education behind them. 22nd century curriculum, that's what I'm working on. It will make high school diplomas worth a 4-year college degree. I'm going to repeat that. A high school diploma is worth a 4-year college degree. Yeah, send that around. Make that a meme. How would you like a high school diploma worth a 4-year college degree? That's what a 22nd century curriculum can do. So, any questions? I'm going to leave it open. Any questions? All right, I appreciate it. Pocket Teacher, thank you so much. Gold Mindset, thank you so much. Thriving in Third, thank you so much. And I wish you a good day. This is D. Scott Schwartz signing off. Tuesdays with Schwartz. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.